Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Become a Better Man. My name is Tunde Disu. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on this program today. On today's program, we're looking at perfectionism. Perfectionism. See, one of the major hindrances to starting anything in life, or making progress, or moving forward, or achieving your purpose, or even getting up and getting going, one of the hindrances to that we have seen in the lives of a lot of people is procrastination. Procrastination. And what is procrastination? Procrastination is simply the action of delaying, of postponing, of putting off what you can do today and leaving it to say, okay, I'll attend to that tomorrow. Or maybe in the evening I will attend to that. Later I will see to that. I'll make that phone call. I'll send the letter. Oh, you mean I haven't done that? Okay, I'll do it later. And later will become later, and later will become never. So that's procrastination. And the truth is, where procrastination resides or is in a person's life, they are always like the dog chasing its tail. They are always running. They are always late. They are always trying to catch up, trying to finish up on one thing or another. The truth is, excuse me. The truth is, most people put things off until the last minute, until when that assignment is due for submission, until when that letter, that blue or black letter, becomes a red letter, until when that your friend said, I'm not going to call you again until you make the effort, until something is about to break. That is when most people will start to run around and trying to catch up with something they could have done, they should have done, even before then. But you see, procrastination, when it is chronicle, when it's at a chronicle stage in a person's life, what they do is they avoid difficult tasks. They avoid confrontation. They deliberately look for other things to distract them. They deliberately invest their energy and their time and their resources in other things with the consciousness of knowing that this is what I am supposed to be doing at this particular time. So that is procrastination. It is a reflection of our perennial struggle with self-control. The bottom line to procrastination is lack of self-control, as well as our inability to accurately predict how tomorrow will be, how we will feel tomorrow, what else have we got pushed further down the road that is waiting for us tomorrow. So procrastination is a major hindrance to making progress or even starting anything at all. But you see, bad as procrastination is, there is another element. There's another human trait. There's another human tendency that is equally as bad, if not even worse, than procrastination. And that element, that human tendency, that human trait, that exhibition of character is what is called perfectionist. Perfectionist. Now, most of us who've attended interviews, and they ask you what are your strengths and your weaknesses. And one of the things people will say is, oh, I'm a perfectionist. I always like things to be done very well. I always like things to be done perfectly. But you see, the truth of the matter is, as far as perfectionism is concerned, it's neither good nor bad. Or rather, it has its good side, but it has its ugly side. It's like what the Bible calls a double-edged sword. It can cut you both ways. Perfectionism is a major hindrance, if not bigger, than procrastination when it comes to starting something, getting something going, or pushing through with an idea, with a goal, with a project, with an assignment, with a purpose, or whatever it is in your life that you are working on or you're dealing with. If you are a perfectionist, there are tendencies that will stop you from achieving your goal or achieving them within the specified expected time that you want to achieve it. There is the old saying, cross your T's and dot your I's. That is good. But it is when you then have to cross your T's twice and dot your I's twice or 3 times, and now it's becoming not even a recognizable alphabet anymore. And that is the danger of being a perfectionist. Perfectionism involves putting pressure on yourself. Putting pressure on yourself. Now, before I go further, I want to say this. There is nothing wrong in setting high standard for yourself. There is nothing wrong with you having great expectations of yourself, from yourself, for yourself. Those are noble, great attitudes to have. But you see, when it goes slightly above that level, when you start to put pressure on yourself to meet high standards, which then powerfully influences the way you think about yourself, now that has crossed the boundary into perfectionist. So what am I saying? Perfectionism is often mistaken for being perfect or doing something perfectly. There is a place for doing something perfectly. There is a parameter for being perfect in what you're doing. In fact, you will not have a job or whatever you do today for your source of living if you are not good at it, if you are not almost perfect, even being perfect at it. So there's nothing wrong in being good or doing something perfectly. However, when it crosses the boundary, like I said, to where you are now putting undue, unrealistic pressure on yourself and others just for the sake of achieving what you term as perfect, then you are living in the world of perfectionism. There's a big difference between healthy and helpful pursuit of excellence. In fact, there's something wrong if you are not pursuing excellence. There is something wrong if you are not putting in your best effort. It is questionable of your character and your person if you're just doing bare minimum. So there is a big difference between healthy and helpful pursuit of excellence. However, there is something wrong with unhealthy and unhelpful striving for perfection, just for the sake of perfection. So it is healthy and it is helpful to pursue excellent. However, when that pursuit becomes unhealthy, when it is now draining from you and from others around you, all in the name of being perfect, now we're into dangerous territory. The question I want to ask you is this. Would you consider or would you describe yourself as a perfectionist? Would you say, I am a perfectionist? Because like I said, most of us will use that during interviews to say, I'm a perfectionist. I like to get everything done right, thinking that will impress the interview panel. But the reality is, there is also the ugly side, the bad side, the unhealthy side to being a perfectionist. So some of the elements let me get my words right. Some of the elements of perfectionism. These are some of the elements of perfectionism. And as I'm going on about this, I want you to start to examine yourself. Think about yourself. Put yourself on this scale and determine, am I on the healthy side of doing things well and doing things perfectly? Or have I crossed the boundary? Have I crossed the border to the unhealthy side that Tunde is describing, where the purpose of doing this is not because it has to be perfect. It's just so that I can satisfy my ego of saying I did it perfectly. So some elements of perfectionism, like I was saying, is you relentlessly. Now listen, be careful. I need you to pay attention to the words I'm using. Relentlessly. You relentlessly strive for extremely high standards that are very demanding for yourself, on yourself, and on others. When you live a life that is relentlessly, pedal to the panel, as they say, you are constantly, permanently, relentlessly driving, striving, pushing, going for extremely high standard. And that standard is very demanding. It is very energy sapping, resources sapping on yourself and others. That is a trait of perfectionism. But more than that, to an outside world, in as much as people appreciate the fact that you are doing things well, you are good at what you do, to an outside world, these high standards, these extremely high demanding standards, they are considered to be unreasonable and unrelenting, and in some cases unwanted, unneeded, or uncalled for. Another element of perfectionism is that you judge your self-worth. You believe, you assume, you accept, you describe your self-worth largely based on your ability to strive for and achieve these high standards, this unrelenting, extremely high demanding standard that you've set for yourself and for others. When your self-worth is based on achieving those standards, then you are in the territory. In fact, you are living in the perfectionism zone. If you experience negative consequences of setting such standards, such demanding standards, because the level is high, the demand is tough, the achievement is rigorous, when you experience negative consequences because of those standards, and you know it. You see, that's the thing. You know very well that this is costing me. I'm spending more than my money here. I'm expending more than my sweat and blood here. When you experience these negative consequences, and yet you continue to go and continue to strive and continue to push and continue to run after these high standards that are, is costing you more than you bargained for. Despite this huge cost, you are still pursuing it. Then you are an element, or your life is an element of perfectionism. Now, again, at different junctures, I would like to reiterate the fact that I am not sitting here tonight advocating for laziness and lousiness and just doing bare minimum and don't be bothered with standard and excellence and set goals and laudable purpose for yourself. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is this demand, this standard, how high are they? What are the costs to yourself and to others around you? You see, a lot of people, especially men, have lost their health, their families, their relationships, their livelihood, their health, their wealth, their families, their friends, and everything, all in the name of, I must achieve this standard. I have to go for this high standard. And in the course of that, they blindsided themselves from seeing that there are other things still in their lives that are equally important, that are equally demanding or require their attention, that are equally laudable and of good report in their lives. But they are focused. They have tunnel vision. It is that way and that way alone. When you do that, you are living in the bubble of perfectionism. So it is generally a good idea to have high standard and have goals and purpose to achieve for yourself and in yourself. But, however, when those goals are either unachievable or achievable at a great cost, I'm not saying don't set goals. I'm not saying don't have purpose. But when those goals and purpose, when they are either unachievable or the cost of achieving them is so high, it makes it very difficult even for you to feel good about it, about yourself, once you've achieved those goals. You arrive at the destination and then you look back and you ask yourself, is that it? Is it worth all of that sacrifice? Is it worth all of that expensive commitments and lack of sleep and lack of food and lack of health and lack of family time that you've put into it? At this point, you are living in the bubble of perfectionism. You see, why perfectionism is seen usually as believing you want to be perfect or obsessed or have the obsession of wanting something good for yourself and in your life. Being a perfectionist can manifest itself in other ways that you don't even know it's happening. You can't even recognize. But it would take others to look at you and say, slow down. Take it easy. There is more to life. There is more to you. There is more about you than this one thing. I asked you a question earlier. I said, would you describe yourself as a perfectionist? Would you say you are a perfectionist? I know a lot of people will say, well, not really. But if you're at an interview room and they say, what are some of your strengths and weaknesses? I'm a perfectionist. It will be one of the things you will say. But let me help you. Let me help you. In case you are not sure, in case you are in doubt, am I or am I not? In case you are thinking maybe, maybe not. In case you are wondering, when have I crossed the border or am I still sitting on the fence and don't know which way to go? These are some of the things some questions you must ask yourself, that you need to ask yourself, that you need to sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself these questions and be honest and sincere in answering them, because it will help you on the long run. It will deliver you from the pitfalls that we will look at later, the pitfalls of perfectionism as a way of life. So, the first question, are you the type of person that will have to check something just one more time, just in case, maybe, why not, Oh, have you looked at it? Have you seen it? Let me see it again. Show me that thing again. Let me have a look at it again. Have you considered this? Even though you've ticked all of these boxes 10 times, you're still going back to recheck, to double check, to triple check, and then send somebody to go and check, and then you go and check what that somebody has checked. When you constantly and permanently and always having to go back one more time over the same thing over and over again, you are a perfectionist. You are a perfectionist. Another question is this. Are you the type that will procrastinate with the thought that maybe just not the right time to do this? Maybe not just the right moment to step out. Maybe not just the right moment to do what you know in your heart of hearts, what you believe passionately in the quietness of yourself, that this is what you need to do and you need to do it now. But you are the type that say, maybe this is not the right time. Maybe this is not the right avenue. Maybe this is not the right place. Now, I am not advocating that you jump without looking. Obviously, you have to be sensible and reasonable. But have you turned your analysis into paralysis? In the course of you analyzing whether this is and this is and this is, have that become a chain that is now tying you down from doing what you need to do? What you know that you need to do, when you know you have to do it, where you know you need to do it. But procrastination, just thinking, maybe this is not the right time, I need to just consider it again and look at it again. Maybe the weather will change and then it will be perfect. Have you forgotten? The Bible says those who look at the weather to sow will not have any harvest. You won't have any harvest. So the second question I'm asking is, or that you need to ask yourself rather, to know whether you are a perfectionist or not is, are you the type that will procrastinate with the thought that is it the right time? Is it the perfect time to start something, to do something, to launch out, to maybe to even separate from a relationship and go the way that your heart is drawing you and pulling you? Also, are you the type that will always be the first to spot a mistake in everything? You are the one that will always see how this will not work, how this is a wrong idea, how this is the wrong move, how this is. Are you the type that is always focused on what is not good, what is not right, what is not in place, what needs to be done correctly, what needs to change? No, there's nothing wrong again with being thorough. It's a good thing to be thorough, but just be mindful that you are not being thorough just for the sake of being thorough, just because your own definition of thoroughness is perfection. The problem is that perfectionism, people who live in this realm, in this bubble, in this cage of perfectionism, they secretly pull themselves down. Without knowing, without thinking, without seeing it, they actually pull themselves down. The reason I say that is because at the bottom of perfectionism, in almost all the cases, at the root of it is the element of doubt and fear. What if I didn't do it right? What if I didn't consider everything? What if I did? What if? So that element of doubt and fear is what causes people to want to look at it again the 10th time. Check it again the 15th time. Oh, let's just What did they say the weather will be? How is it going to be? And this and that. And generally, they make progress very slowly. Very slow progress than they could do, than they should do. Or sometimes they are completely stopped in their tracks. They come to a full stop. I remember I was talking to my son one day. We're traveling together in the car, and we just, as you do, talking about life in general, father-son conversation, and one thing led to another, and he said something, I can't remember exactly. And I said to him, I said, you see, Ore, one of the principles by which I live my life is not to live a life of regret. And he said, oh, how is that possible? I mean, you do make mistakes. So I said, yes, a lot of mistakes. I can assure you that. I said, but I don't live a life of regret. He said, what do you mean? I said, because every time I am confronted with making a decision, every time I am faced with a point of decision, I take it upon myself to examine all the available variables, all the options available to me at that point in time. And having considered all of them, I then make a decision based on the circumstances, based on available facts, based on available environment. What do I believe to be the best option at this point in time? And once I have made that decision, I go ahead and act on that decision. Now, if 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 days, 2 years afterwards, that my decision turned out to be wrong, and absolutely wrong, yes, I will go back and re-examine it and learn my lessons from it. But I don't ever regret that decision. Do you know why? Because as at the time of making that decision, based on the available facts and figures before me, the available options that I had at that time, that decision was the best. That decision for me was the best. So, perfection is one of the issues they have is they don't want to make mistakes. They would rather not do anything than do something and make mistake. And so they are stuck in one spot and not going forward. Perfectionism is more than pushing yourself to do your best, to achieve your goal, to accomplish your purpose. It is rather, in some cases, if not in most cases, a reflection of the inner self based on anxiety, on fear, on worry, on concern, on not wanting to get it wrong. But you see, those who hit home runs, those who score the goals, those who achieve the purpose, truth be told, they made mistakes along the way. It is not every time that Tiger Woods hits the golf ball that he gets a hole-in-one. It's not every time that you will get it right. But don't allow the concern, the fear of getting it wrong stop you from even attempting or making a decision or taking the step in the first place. This inner self-anxiety is usually born out of uneasiness, concern, doubt, rather than simple basic need to do the right thing and do the right thing well. So ask yourself, what is it that is stopping you from doing what you know to do and where you know to do it? What has stopped you or is stopping you or holding you back from doing, from moving forward, from taking that next step? What is it for you? Because unless you are able to identify that, every time you come to that junction, you will come to a full stop. And before you know it, the traffic will back up behind you so long that everybody will start hooting at you. Let's go, get out of the way, move yourself aside. Are you not going anywhere? If you're not going, let us go. And that is how life will be screaming at you. Quickly, let's look at the root cause of perfectionism as a way of life. Because whatever you see on the outside, whatever a man manifests on the outside, there is a cause on the inside. There is a reason behind it. There is a root from where that thing has grown to the point where it is now manifesting with results. So what are some of the root causes of becoming a perfectionist, of living in this bubble of perfectionism? What are some of the causes of it? What are some of the roots to it? You see, why some people take mistakes as a lesson, they learn from it. Like I was saying about not living a life of regret. I learn from my mistakes. I completely see them as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to improve, to become better, and strive towards doing it better next time around. But you see, perfectionists don't see mistakes as a lesson opportunity. They don't see it as a learning point. Rather, perfectionists, they see mistakes as personal flaws, as personal inadequacies, as personal shortage, as personal ineffective and unproductive. Perfectionists, they mentally beat themselves up and feel the sense of failure, the same thing they are trying to avoid. That is exactly what they end up having. That sense of failure. The same fear of failure that they're running from, they end up being in it. They end up living in it. They end up having that put upon themselves, and then they turn around and beat themselves up, not just for the failure, but for feeling and acting like a failure. So the question is this. When you make mistakes, like we all do you see it as a learning point, as an opportunity to learn and grow? Or do you internalize it and take it as a personal flaw? Thomas Edison said, I haven't failed in this number of times of making a light bulb. I've only learned how it cannot be made. He learned a lesson from every failure, quote and unquote, from everyone that didn't work, so that he can improve. And one day, boom, we have light bulbs till today. Till today. So the first thing, the first root of perfectionism is the sense of, if I make mistake, then that is a personal flaw on my part. The second one is ego. Ego. See, many people want to be perfect. They want to do things perfectly. In fact, everybody wants to do things perfectly because they have a mindset of carrying what other people, or of caring rather, of what other people will say about them. Most people, in fact, almost all of us, live in the world of they. They will say, What will they think? How will they feel? Who will they tell? Every one of us are living in a world of they. But the question is, who are they? Who is your they? Who is my they? Who is this they that we are all scared and afraid of? The reality is some of these they are just you and I in disguise. The ego, the sense of being seen as less than we want people to see us, the sense of feeling inadequate or lesser than what we have projected, it makes people to drive towards being a perfectionist, because they don't want they to say, to think, to see, to imagine them less than who they say they are. People are generally concerned that they will be judged negatively if something is not up to a certain standard that they have set for themselves. You know, one of the things I do after each of these programs is I will sit down and just watch it. Not because I want to pat myself on the shoulder, but because I want to be able to hear what others are hearing when I'm talking, so that I can learn and improve and become better at it. I don't sit down watching it thinking, oh my goodness, that's a wrong grammar. How can you say that? What would they be saying about you? I mean, imagine somebody like you can't even put a sentence together. Don't get me wrong. I try my best to speak the good English as much as possible. But I don't beat myself up every now and again when it goes off the rail. I learn from it. And I'm aware of that. And I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it. But I don't sit down thinking, oh, all those people who are watching the program, who are live on the program, the other people that will see it on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter and on LinkedIn and whatever, what would they think of me? I don't allow the element, the guilty garment of they. I don't allow it. When I watch the programs, I watch them to learn from them. Because some of the things I'm saying are not in my note. They are things that just minister to me as I'm talking. So why not go back and learn from it too? So ego is another root cause of perfectionism. Another root cause of perfectionism is childhood experience. Childhood experience. And this is so particular, especially those of us who have the privilege and the honor of being parents or guardians or being in a position where you can speak into other people's lives. It is so important that we are very careful, because one word can make or break somebody. Childhood experiences can also lead to perfectionism in your person, especially if you learn from parents or guardians that are constantly putting you down. They are constantly talking you down. They are constantly telling you you are good for nothing. Oh, you are not good enough to be loved. You are not good enough to be married. You are not good enough to be this. You can never be that. Such children, they grow up either completely damaged and just washed away, or they grow up wanting to prove to that person that I'm not what you say I am. I refuse to be what you said I am. And that is why, especially for men, a lot of men are going at 1,000 miles per hour, trying to prove to their father that they are better than what their father said they are, even though the father died about 15 years ago. So be careful what you say to children. Be careful what you say into the lives of other people, because words are seeds. Once they are planted, they will grow. They will grow. Another root of perfectionism, especially in the life of children, is when children grow up around highly successful parents or guardians or uncles and aunties. And these people, they demonstrate, they live a life that is without speck. I mean, you think they don't go to the toilet. I mean, they don't walk on the ground. They don't even breathe oxygen. When children grow in that environment, those children are by default trained to also want to live such a perfect, quote and unquote, life. Such children are usually excessively praised. They are usually excessively rewarded for their result and not for their effort or progress. And what that does is it says to the children that the only way to gain acceptance and love and praise is to live a perfect life, is to be a perfectionist. And they grow up with that mentality. Another root of perfectionism is when you are in an environment that is chaotic, that is unpredictable, that is abusive, that is just all hell break loose all the time. People generally in that environment tend to find a way of defending themselves. They come up with a defense mechanism. And that defense mechanism is to try and be perfect. Because if you haven't done anything wrong, you are almost free from the abuse, from the harassment, from the shouting, from the beating and all of that. So people tend to just stay out of trouble. Not because they have caused the trouble, but because the environment is toxic. The environment is troublesome. So the only way for them to be outside of that environment while they are in it is to put up a wall of defense. And that wall of defense is usually striving to be perfect in every way. Another root of perfectionism is the culture and the media that we have in today's generation. For instance, when you look at, I know there's been a big campaign going on to counter that and change that mentality. But the truth is, when you look at some of the quote and unquote celebrities and models and people that will see on the catwalk, for instance, modeling dresses and this and that and whatever, what do you see? They are usually tall, very slim, elegant, and almost not walking on the ground, almost just floating in the air. And what that does is it sends out the message to others to say, unless you are tall, slim, and like that, you are not good enough. Unless you are walking like that, unless you behave like that, unless you carry yourself like that, then you are not good enough. You are not good. You are not perfect. And so there are instances now where you have, especially girls, young girls and teenagers, trying to be like the people they see on the catwalk. So they won't eat. If they eat, they will try to get it out. And in the course of doing that, some of them become anorexia. Now, I know there are other medical reasons for that, but you see, the role that the culture and the media play in channeling people's thoughts and mindset towards that is also another cause or another root of perfectionism. I hope this is helping somebody out there. You see, normally naturally we tend to reward perfectionists for their insistence on setting high standard, and rightly so. We like them to be recognized and rewarded for their relentless drive to meet high standard, and rightly so. But what we don't see, what we don't know, what they are not sharing with us is the price that they have to pay for that success and to attain and achieve that goal and to be at that level. They won't discuss that with us. We won't know that. But you see, usually those prices are living a life of unhappiness, living a dysfunctional life, living a lonely life, living a life where they are not just happy in themselves. But when they come out, oh yeah, no. So those are some of the prices that people pay for this thing. People who are perfectionists, they are usually, in most cases, they have troubled relationships. They can't have long-lasting relationships. You know why? Because the same standard with which they live their lives, they want others to live that same way. They expect others to meet that standard as well. They require, and in some cases demand, that others around them should all also live in that same bubble with them. And when somebody you can pretend for a while, but after a while you're tired of pretending. You just want to be yourself. And because that is not who you are, that is not how you are put together, your real self will pop up, and guess what? The relationship will break down. Perfectionists, mostly, they live a lonely life. They live a life of anxiety. They have mood disorder. They are just in a world of their own. So how would you know? Remember at the beginning I said, I am not advocating for lousiness and laziness and shabby dealings and just getting by with barely making bare minimum. That's not what I'm saying. Yes, we need to strive for excellence. Yes, we need to strive for setting good standard. Yes, we need to live a life that is of good quality and goals and purposes that are excellent, going for gold. That's great reward in that. But it is when it crosses that line to the other side, that's when there is issue. So how would you know if your good is crossing the boundary to your worst, and your worst is crossing the boundary to the worst? How would you know if this so-called perfectionism has taken control over your life, or is now taking over your person? How would you know? What are some of the telltale signs? What would you be doing? What would be the exhibit? What would be the demonstration for you to begin to say to yourself, if nobody is telling me, I think I'm knocking on the door now? The number one way to know is that you are always very eager to please others. You are always eager to please others. You are always looking for affirmation. You are always looking, you will do anything just for somebody to say, wow, you are way out there. And it starts at young age, when we were children. What do I mean by that? What do we say to children? Parents and teachers. What do we say to children? Reach for the star. Go for gold. Don't settle for less. Ask for more. Those are great slangs and great words of encouragement, of championing and helping our children to grow, to achieve their fullness and their full potentials. They are great, wonderful. Parents and teachers encourage children. And when those children, when they do very well, when they excel, what do? We give them star sticker. We put their name up. We stand up in the class. We'll clap for them. And that is wonderful. But then what do we do when they don't measure up to those standards? What do we do when they don't reach those goals or that we expect, that we set for them? What do we do to those children in the same class that are not at that level? What do we say to them? We call them names. We stand them up in the class and we talk ugly about them. We tell them that they can't measure up. So what do they, the other children, the ones that we give stars, they now associate their person, their personality is now based on their achievement. So they live their lives running after achievements, accolades, and excellence, all in the name of just getting that star, so that they can become that person, so that they can feel, I achieved this, I did this by myself, I am a self-made person. And that, when you are in that zone, when all your focus, all you are doing, everything about you, all you want is to have your person, your worth, your identity, your life and fulfillment to be based barely and be measured by your achievement, your perfectionist is taking over your perfectionist, your eagerness to be a perfectionist is beginning to enslave you. The unfortunate thing is this: you and I know that in real life, on the streets of our cities, in that boardroom, in that factory, in that college, and in that team where you belong, there's nothing like straight A's. There is to have A's all through is a pie in the sky. And what happens when those children, those people that have grown up with the achievement being the measure of their worth, when they don't score the A, or when they look at the signs and the A's are so far away, what do? They push themselves harder. They push themselves harder. They push themselves to break the speed limit of sound. And usually, calamity is the end, is the result. And such people live a life of frustration. And they live a life where they start to doubt themselves that, how come I used to be able to get all of this straight A. I used to be able to achieve all of that. I used to be able to, but why am I not able to do it now? And gradually self-doubt will start to creep up on them. And once self-doubt starts, that is the beginning of the end. The drive for perfection can be painful, because it is often driven by both a desire to do well on one hand and a fear of the consequence of not doing well on the other hand. There is the drive, the desire, the want, the go to do well, which is great. But there is the fear, the anxiety, the self-doubt that creeps in, the consequences, the thought of what if I can't make it? What if I didn't do well? And that cripples them all at the same time. When you have that raging war going on the inside of you, your perfectionist has taken control over you. It's time to stop. It's time to change. How would you know if your perfectionist, your perfect self, has enslaved you? You will know when your drive to perfection is hurting you. Everybody knows where the shoe is pinching, in which of the toes you're feeling the pain of the new shoe. You know it. But a perfectionist, even though he or she realizes that this thing is hurting, this thing is painful, but what do they say? They say, well, this is the price I have to pay in order to achieve success. This is the price that I must pay in order for me to reach my goal. Yes, everybody, you have to pay a price. But when that price is more than the goal, is more than the reward, is more than the result, is more than the outcome, then you've paid for a loan. You are paying interest on a loan that you have not borrowed. You have not signed the loan paper with Barclays. But every month you go and pay them for the loan that you haven't borrowed. So the drive for perfection is hurting you. But you say to yourself, that's all right. That's the price I have to pay. That's what it's required for me to achieve and become. Once you are in that zone, your perfectionist is taking over your life. A typical perfectionist is someone who will go to great length, usually unhealthy lengths, to avoid being an average or being seen as an average or a mediocre. They will spill blood, sweat, and guts just so that they will not say you are an average person. They will not say you are mediocre. Your parents who are dead and gone will not say, you see, I told you, you can't amount to nothing. Such people live with a mentality that says, no pain, no gain. You know, the only place where that mentality works is in the gym. It's a constant go. Even though the pain is there, they keep pounding it. They keep pounding it. They keep pounding it. Just to achieve. As a perfectionist, you acknowledge that this relentless standard is stressful. And sometimes you know it's unreasonable. But what do you say? That's the price you have to pay for excellence. That's the price you have to pay to maintain this office. If you want to sit in this corner office, then you have to work all the hours God sent. You have to abandon your wife, your husband, your children. Oh, the nanny can take care of them. The housekeeper can clean the house. You have to achieve this. You must push this through. When you are in that zone, your perfectionist has taken control over your life. You have become enslaved to it. Another way you will know, oh my goodness, look at the time. Another way you will know that you're perfectionist, your self-imposed perfection has taken over your life. It's now ruling you and controlling you. Another way you will know is that you are you will become highly critical of others. When you see yourself, when you see somebody who is highly critical of others, there's nothing you say that is said right. There's nothing you do that is done right. There's no way everything is not good enough. It's not good enough. When somebody is like that, their perfectionist self has been taken over by perfectionism. Because you become judgmental towards others. And you know why you do that? It's a psychological defense mechanism. It is a psychological defense mechanism because you have set the standard for yourself so high that everybody is permanently living below that bar. And because people, they are constantly and permanently living below that bar, you can't see anything good in them. Somebody once said, when you live with a judge, you are always on trial. When you work with a magistrate, you are always in the dock. Because there is always something that is not right, that is less than expected, that is inadequate, that is below standard about you, your work, your everything. So when you see yourself gravitating and distributing criticism to others in dozens, when you can't see anything good in others, when you can't believe anything good can come out of Nazareth about others, your criticism has taken over you. You become judgmental towards others. You reject in others what you can't accept in yourself. Let me say that again. A perfectionist whose perfectionism has taken over their lives, they will reject in others what they have put on themselves as the standard. And because you're a perfectionist, there'll be so many things to reject about others. There'll be so many things that will not measure up to your standard. There will be so many things that are below average as far as you are concerned. Because you have set your standard so high, nobody can attain it. And the result is that perfectionists, they are highly discriminative. They are highly discriminative. They look at you and say, no, I can't be his friend. Oh, no, she's below my standard. Oh, no, please, not that one. And before you know it, nobody is good enough for you. Because few people are beyond your critical, unreasonable, unattainable, self-imposed standard. But when you become less tough on others, when you give people room to grow, when you give people the benefit of the doubt, when you allow individual differences to be a factor in your consideration, as you give other people the latitude to be themselves and rise up at their own pace, and maybe one day, God willing, they might come up to your standard. When you allow that with other people, guess what? It will rub off on you. Because suddenly you begin to see, you will start to see that it's not all that. All this force and whatever, it's not worth it. Why am I killing myself? Why am I doing this to myself? Where are my friends? Where's my family? Who is around me? Who can I call in the middle of the night that will pick up the phone? Because they'll be thinking, oh, if you say hello, she might or he might say, is that how you answer the phone? When you allow other people some latitude to be who they are, it will start to rub off on you for you to live a normal, non-perfectionist life. You see, somebody said, we judge other people by their actions and judge ourselves by our intentions. The Bible says, before you help your brother to remove the speck in his eyes, you remove the log that's in your eyes. Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said at the beginning, it is great to strive for excellence. It is admirable. It is desirable to give everything your best. It is a commendable, it is a laudable characteristic to have goals set for your lives and purpose for yourself that you want to achieve and go after it with all you've got. But be careful that that pursuit of happiness does not become a yoke around your neck and enslave you, not to the goal, not to the purpose, but to the doing and to the pursuit. Our time is up. Thank you so much. I hope something tonight that has been said, that was said, has just given you a reason to think about yourself. To, like the Bible says, ponder the path of your life. Examine yourself. Ask yourself these questions and answer them sincerely. Because if you cannot tell yourself the truth, what chance have we got? There is greatness in excellence. Just don't let it cross the border. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I honor and appreciate you. We're going to continue this same message next week because we're just scratching the surface. I think this might be going for 2 to 3 more weeks so that you see, again, the purpose of this platform is to get us to a place where we are better than we were yesterday. And everything that we have been looking at and we've been talking about till now, you'll agree with me, in one way or another, is adding values to all of us and helping us to become better. That is the essence of this platform. And that is why it's called Become a Better Man. Not as man in male, but as man in person. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Please, if you have not shared this message, if you have not shared this program tonight, you'll agree with me that this is worth sharing. It's worth telling somebody about. It is worth sending to your friends. Send a link to them or paste it as a message to their timeline, whatever you want to do. Help somebody. You might just be delivering somebody who is under the yoke and the bondage of the spirit of perfectionism. I honor you. I appreciate you. I say thank you for your commitment and your dedication to this platform. It is highly, highly appreciated. But guess what? We're not where we want to be, but we're not where we were before. We're on our way to greatness. We have a purpose and a destination that is set before us. And everything we're doing is to bring us to a point where when we arrive at that destination, everything and anything around us and about us will have no choice but to declare, these are better men and better women. I love you and I appreciate you. God bless you. Have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your week. See you next week. Bye-bye.